Hey Rise fam, welcome to our lunch devotional for day 2 of our 3-day breakthrough 2024. Man, I've been loving hearing about just how God has been working in people's lives. I was talking with some people last night at group, talking with some people at prayer this morning. It's just awesome to hear what is happening. And we're getting into the spot of Hebrews where it could be easy to check out a little bit. And the reason is because we start to drop names like Melchizedek, and you're like, who is that? What's going on? I was actually this morning talking with somebody. Was he a priest? Was he a king? I don't know a lot about him. And it's easy to kind of get lost in that. But if you can wrap your mind around this, there is some incredible stuff that you can pull from it. So I'm not going to do a deep dive in this video right now on who Melchizedek was. There's all sorts of thoughts. Was he Jesus? Was he a Christophany? Was he a foreshadowing? We know he was a priest. We'll just leave it at that. But what's so interesting about this is when we look at Melchizedek and we look at the other priests, there is something different about them than Jesus himself. And we can really get a lens into this when we go to Hebrews chapter 7, and I'm going to be in verse 22 right now. It says this makes Jesus the guarantor of a better covenant. And you most likely know, but in case you don't, let me help you out. There's the Old Covenant, the Old Testament covenant, which is where you had to earn your salvation, that you would, by your works, by your sacrifices, that is how you would be able to really make amends for the sins in your life. On the other side, we have the New Covenant, and that is Jesus came to fulfill the Old Testament, and he now is the perfect sacrifice who takes away the sin of the world. And in reality, the Old Covenant actually points towards the New Covenant as the solution, but we're just going to kind of keep them in two camps for this moment right now, that the New Covenant is what Jesus has accomplished on the cross, that I can't gain salvation, you can't gain salvation. But in this passage, it says in verse 22 that Jesus is the guarantor of a better covenant, the better covenant being the New Covenant, and Jesus is the guarantor for it. Now, if you've ever taken out a loan before, it's possible that they may have required a guarantor to be on that loan. That in case you can't pay the debt on the loan, you have somebody that can guarantee that it's going to be paid off. And Jesus is exactly that. I have a debt on my life. You have a debt on your life because there's sin in our life. And in case I can't pay it off, which for the record, I can't, I have a guarantor, and his name is Jesus. He's the one who guarantees that I am able to be adopted into this new covenant. In verse 23, it says, the former priests were many in number. There's been tons of priests because they were prevented by death from continuing in office. They all had an expiration. But he holds his priesthood permanently because he continues forever. Consequently, because of all of this, he is able to save to the utmost those who draw near to God through him, since he always lives to make intercession for them. And the good news in this is that our relationship with Jesus, our salvation in Jesus, the good news about Jesus is it's not a 3-day thing, okay? Like it's not a 3-day breakthrough, and at the end of these 3 days, it's back to business as normal. No, see, Jesus is the permanent priest. He is the one who never abandons his post. He's the one who will never leave you or forsake you. And that means when we're talking about breakthrough, like I hope something phenomenal happens during this 3-day season, but what I know is this 3-day season is what I hope is a setup for the seasons after this. Because the goodness of God is going to be found in these 3 days, but the goodness of God is available every single day. And so my hope and prayer for you is that while you're in this 3-day rhythm, that you dive in and it's going to be awesome, and you're going to pray and fast, and it's going to be tremendous. But that you're also already thinking right now, like we talked about earlier, okay, who's the mentor that's going to help me get off milk and into solid food? What is the system I'm going to set up so that I'm daily in God's word, and it's not just a 3-day sprint, but it's a lifestyle that I'm adopting? These moments of prayer and fasting should serve as a catalyst for the seasons that are to come. And so during this lunchtime, maybe take a couple of minutes and just pray and seek the Lord on how can I make spiritual moments like I'm experiencing during these 3 days a normative part of my life, a normal part of my life, because we believe that Jesus has done an amazing work and is still doing a work in us. And at the end of these 3 days, I know I still got more coming for me, and there's going to be more breakthroughs to happen. So rest in the fact that we do not serve a temporary priest, but we serve the King who serves and lives forever.